Part 2 of Chapter 4, Ethics and Social Responsibility. Sorry, my recording got interrupted before. I have to figure out a way of stopping WhatsApp from interrupting my recordings. Apparently, every time somebody calls me using WhatsApp, it stops the previous recording. I was fortunate enough that it stopped at a point that I could have a part 2 and not have to re-record everything. So that's why some of the videos will have a part 2. What I'm going to do is probably put everything on airplane mode once I finish this second part. Anyway, enough of the technical gobbledygook. Let's talk about Tom's one for one. The slide that talks about Tom's shoes. Tom's shoes was made for poor people. The person in charge of Tom's, Blake Mykowski, saw that people didn't have shoes when he traveled to Argentina, and that bothered him. In response, he established a company that donates a pair of shoes for every purchased pair of shoes. This is the ultimate good for society, social responsibility. Very, very nice example of that. Table 4.3, forms of social responsible behavior, just a couple of them. Provide severance payment to help laid off employees, give workers opportunities to enhance their skills, acquire additional education so that they can remain productive and be more employable and not become obsolete. Decide to keep open a factory whose closure would devastate the local community. I mean, if you just look at devastation of communities, look at Detroit, when the big four, actually the big three, had massive issues in 2008, 2007. There were a lot of factories that closed down, and of course, swaths of the neighborhoods in Detroit were abandoned, and of course, today they look apocalyptic. You can't even get mail delivery there, and that's all because a factory closed down and it destroyed the surrounding area. Look at 4.3 for more examples. Moving along, figure 4.6, approaches to social responsibility. On the low end, you have obstructional approach, and then you have defensive, accommodative, and proactive approaches, and we'll go into each one. The obstructionist approach, 4 different approaches, slide 1 of 4. Companies and their managers choose not to behave in a socially responsible way and instead behave unethically and illegally. Defensive approach, companies and their managers behave ethically to the degree that they stay within the law and strictly abide by legal requirements. Accommodative approach, companies and their managers behave legally and ethically and try to balance the interests of different stakeholders as needs arise. Proactive approach, companies and their managers actively embrace social responsible behavior, going out of their way to learn about the needs of different stakeholders, groups, and using organizational resources to promote the interests of all stakeholders. Why be social responsible? Number one, it demonstrates a company's active role in building a good reputation. If all companies in a society act socially responsible, the quality of life as a whole increases. Ethical values, roles of an organizational culture. Ethical values and norms help organizational members resist self-interested action, realize that they are part of something bigger than themselves. Ethics ombudsman, responsible for communicating ethical standards to all employees, designing systems to monitor employees' conformity to those standards, teaching managers and employees at all levels of the organization how to appropriately respond to ethical dilemmas. Here's a video, cell phones for soldiers. You can click on that and talk about, and discuss amongst yourselves what opportunities for making a difference in the world have you noticed. Identify, briefly explain the 3 questions to be answered when determining whether or not an action is ethical, and why is it important for employees to act ethically and socially responsible within an organization. Look at the video, it is fascinating. The next couple of slides are the appendices. Appendix 1, Table 4.1, some principles from the GAPS Code of Vendor Conduct. Appendix 2, 4.2, 4 ethical rules, the justice rule, utilitarian, practical, and moral rights rule, which we discussed in detail. And Appendix 3, Figure 4.3, some effects of ethical and unethical behavior. Appendix 4, 4.3, forms of socially responsible behavior, which we went through, which piggybacks to slide 33. Appendix 4.5, Johnson & Johnson's Credo, and it jumps back to slide 30. And that is the end of our class for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to future classes with you, future chapters. Thank you.